This is News 6 Tonight.
What an honor that you would spend your Friday watching these two right here online, streaming on News 6 Plus.
And that's two nights in a row.
That is. I know. How lucky are we? When Lewis Bolden joins the show, we call it the Bolden Bump.
It has been proven.
It has. It is scientifically based that when Lewis Bolden is on your show, you get better ratings.
You guys are too kind to me. Too kind.
That's what we call it. So good to have you tonight. We have some interesting stories, some wild stories on this Friday, some that'll surprise you. We have been following this first one. It's been a terrible story to try to cover and to watch, as there was this 8-year-old boy who was riding his bike. This happened earlier this year around his neighborhood, and 2 dogs mauled him to death. He died. This was in DeLand. So everybody's been wondering, what's the deal? What's the story behind this? Well, it turns out so these are 2 dogs owned by 2 different women who live in the same house, and they're now facing some charges. As of today, both of them are facing tampering with evidence charges. One of them was already had a second-degree misdemeanor, which, not a felony, but a misdemeanor. So it is becoming relatively clear, at least according to the sheriff, that people in this neighborhood were familiar with these dogs. They had had some weird instances in which these dogs had possibly killed other animals, and there was discussion over this on social media. So our community correspondent Molly Reed really breaks this down well as far as how they were tampering with evidence by deleting these old social media posts.
When those dogs killed Michael, she knew if the cops got a hold of those messages, was grass.
Deputies say Brandy Hodel and Amanda Franco lived together, each owning one of the 2 dogs that killed 8-year-old Michael Millette back in January. Volusia deputies say the child was mauled by the 2 dogs while riding his bike in a neighborhood near DeLand.
There were other people who notified both Amanda and Brandy through social media on the public pages that their dogs had been out running at large.
The sheriff says Franco and Hodel wiped and deleted their social media accounts the day after Millette was killed. One neighbor sent detectives screenshots, though, showing a history of the women acknowledging their dogs getting loose off their property and causing problems in the neighborhood, even killing other people's animals.
There's a lot of people in the neighborhood knew what was going on, but because everybody had some kind of a connection and they didn't want to see anybody get in trouble, or they didn't want to be considered a snitch, they didn't report it to law enforcement.
Man, can you imagine being one of those neighbors?
Oh,
having that happen? Maybe they kill a pet that you know about. You never report it because you don't want to be that bad neighbor or start some sort of neighborly war. And then these dogs kill a child in your neighborhood. It's just unthinkable.
Just the idea of a kid being mauled to death by 2 dogs is just heartbreaking to think about. But then to know that people in the neighborhood knew that these were problem dogs and didn't follow the protocols. Like under Florida law, police would have needed a history of calls to police, to animal services, in order to build a case, because you have to show a paper trail that these dogs were nuisance animals and that the owners were aware of it. And they didn't have that because nobody was making those calls, but they did have those social media posts. And because of those posts that the sheriff says those women then went back and deleted, but neighbors had taken screenshots, that gave them the evidence they need for tampering with evidence. So now it goes from a misdemeanor, a second-degree misdemeanor, to a felony.
Yeah, and which I really want to know what was in those messages now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
because apparently they were going back and forth with another neighbor. But you know how people, I don't know how active your neighborhood Facebook is.
Yeah.
People are always chipping at each other on there. So I wonder if that's what was going on. I wonder what kind of information we're going to glean from that. He hinted at it, but
Yeah.
I would like to see the actual messages. I'm sure those will eventually be released.
Yeah, I mean, Molly said that, they sort of proved that they knew that this was going on. They acknowledged that their dogs were a problem.
And the fact
So
that they deleted it makes you think that maybe it does tell the story.
they were on to something. That's what the sheriff said. They knew they were toast if that had gotten out. Okay, so a Polk County man has been indicted for first-degree murder, Matt.
This is a crazy story.
It is crazy. For allegedly selling cocaine to a 65-year-old woman, okay? The next morning, she wakes up, she gets dressed. The sheriff says she gets dressed for church. She walks out her front door and collapses. She dropped dead. And the autopsy confirmed that she died of cocaine toxicity. So the sheriff has some thoughts about
always
this
does,
whole
yeah.
situation and why this man is now been indicted for first-degree murder. So let's take a listen to Sheriff Grady Judd.
It's a new one on me that on Saturday night you go out and buy some cocaine from your drug dealer and you snort a little bit and then you fire up before you go to church on Sunday. Maybe that helps you sing louder, brighter, But I just don't think Jesus appreciates you using dope before you show up at church. There's a specific statute that says if you sell drugs to someone and they take those drugs and they die, then you're guilty of first-degree murder.
And so 48-year-old Troy Cortez was arrested last year, so he was already in jail on drug charges.
Right.
But when the autopsy report came back, now he's been indicted for first-degree murder added to that. So, yeah, when that law took effect, we started seeing a lot of alleged drug
It's usually
dealers.
tied to fentanyl.
It
We've
usually
had
is.
so many of
It
those
usually is.
fentanyl overdoses that is almost why they created that law.
Right.
You don't see cocaine a lot, and you sure as hell don't see cocaine used by a 65-year-old woman. And this, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it, kind of like the sheriff was.
Yeah.
A 65-year-old woman, and so then you think, well, okay, what are the circumstances
Right.
here? And so she's getting ready for church in the morning. The sheriff says maybe she took a bump to get her going for church.
And it was just too much.
Is there just something I'm not understanding? I thought I don't think anybody should do cocaine, but that's
Yeah.
a young man's game there, from what I understand.
I was very surprised at the age, too. In fact, I was just like, let me just do a little bit of research and look her up, and I just wanted to see her face, and
Yeah.
did. I don't know why that was important to me, but the age was
well,
the
it's
first thing
it's
that
hard to
jumped out
wrap
to
your
me,
mind
too.
around who this was. Did
Yeah.
you get it? Did you find out anything about it?
Her obituary is online. I'll just
Okay.
say that.
Yeah.
And so that's all. I really just wanted to see her face.
Yeah.
But she was also a church-going woman, so it is an interesting dynamic. You normally don't equate the two, but there you have it.
All right, send me the link. I want to see, because I do. I want to know what was going on in that situation. It's just a strange story.
Yeah.
We see a lot of stuff. Railstalker says, "Hi, Team 6. What's going on? Good to see you.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us tonight." Our final story of this little news block here, which
Yeah.
has been action-packed, by the way, Lewis Bolden. There's a traffic stop near Apopka High School. Oh, by the way, Susie, good to see you. TGIF to us.
Hey
The
there.
weekend is here for you. I hope you're just sitting on your couch or in bed
Right.
and just relaxing tonight. We still have some work to do. I
Little
have
bit of work.
more than you.
I
You just have to do this show. But a traffic stop near Apopka High School caused the school to shut down, and it was placed on a temporary hold, which is a fancy way to say it was on lockdown.
Yep.
Everybody was stuck in the school for a little while. So what happened was police saw a car kind of roll through or blow through a stop sign.
Okay.
They pull over this car, and as the car pulls over, 4 people take off. I mean, just like doors fly open, four people just start running. And so the officer, there's a 5th person in the car, and the driver.
The driver is the only
just
person who
stay
stayed.
there behind the wheel, like. So they were all eventually caught.
Yeah.
It's an ICE situation after pulling over the car, and then they rounded up all these people. But when they took off, they had to shut down the school, and so those 5 people are now on ICE detainers. Our community correspondent Mike Valenti tells us a little more about this situation.
5 people are in ICE custody after being detained following a traffic stop near Apopka High School. Videos taken by a parent of a high school student give us a glimpse into the confusion outside the school Friday morning. Apopka High placed on a secure hold due to what the district called unrelated law enforcement activity near the campus. Highway Patrol that a trooper had pulled over a vehicle for running a stop sign. FHP says the driver came to a stop, but 4 passengers inside ran out. Apopka police helped in chasing them down, and FHP says all 5 people were turned over to ICE/Border Patrol. The 5 people in the vehicle were turned over to ICE/Border Patrol. We reached out to Customs and Border Protection. A spokesperson with that agency said this was an ICE matter. We have yet to hear back from ICE, and it's not clear where those 5 people are being held at this moment.
So if you're wondering why the kids were outside for this, it's because they were getting into school at that time. So the kids who were in were secured inside, and the kids who were out, obviously you can't get into school once it's one of those secure situations. But this may be just a sign of the new world that we're living in, because you have to wonder if all these new ICE and deportation matters weren't in place, if a situation like this would have been somebody gets pulled over, they get a ticket, and they move on. Well, in this case, it was a much bigger deal. The people in the car run away. There's this whole scene. Schools are shut down, and now these folks are being deported. So everything is amped up to 11 right now with that situation.
And I'm glad to see that those kids were relatively calm outside, because whenever there's a lot of police activity around a school, they always put the school on lockdown. We see that all the time. But there have been situations, particularly when parents don't know what's going on, they get concerned about their kids. They start coming to the school. So it was nice to see that the kids were really calm and there were no parents rushing the scene and the whole thing. So it looks like everybody at the school was pretty safe, but it was a pretty big scene.
It's good to see that the process worked out. Nobody was
Yes.
panicking. And yeah, we'll see what happens if we get an update on what happens to those 5.
Yeah.
We will certainly give it to you. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a crazy video of a plane crash that happened in Florida. You get to see the plane come down, hit a tree, and miraculously everybody's okay. But we'll show you that video coming up after the break. Welcome to News 6 Tonight. We are so thankful that you're joining us here wherever you found us.
Yeah, you know what this tells me? If you have made this your news streaming destination, it tells me you're smart, also good looking, because you chose to watch the news in a different way. That makes you really smart. Anybody can give you the news from a teleprompter or an old newspaper. We do it in a fresh new way.
That's right. So check us out wherever you like to stream. We have this app for your TV, News 6 Plus. You can find it on Roku and Amazon and whatever your smart TV is cooking. So thank you. We would love to hear your comments down
Oh my
below.
gosh. Yeah.
And then we'll show them.
Yeah, we will. News 6 Plus. The plus is you.
Ooh.
And welcome back. Matt, you already teased this dramatic plane crash that happened down in South Florida. This thing was caught on camera, on a Ring camera, cameras on the ground.
We got all
caught
sorts
it.
of angles on
Yes.
this thing.
And the good thing is everybody survived, okay? But there was a mother, a father, and 2 teenage daughters who were on this plane. And the crazy thing is it looks like a tree may have helped them survive this. Let's take a look.
Let's get away from here. Go, go. Still smoking. Go.
Police body cam video capturing the mayhem that followed this July 13th plane crash in Pembroke Pines.
Whatever in his bag in here, he's got all the 43 for the plane.
This family, a mother, a father, and their teenage daughters, seen sitting in the grass, and they were on board the plane that crashed near Southwest 14th Street and 68th Boulevard. This Ring video captures the plane plunging into the tree as the family was traveling back from the Caribbean to North Perry Airport.
The tree really helped the fall.
That would have been straight concrete. This would be a different story.
Neighbors immediately jumped in to help the family to get them out.
Okay, that's crazy.
It is crazy, and you can see the hole right in that tree. And you also heard the officers talking about how the tree cushioned the fall a little bit. And so it is absolutely amazing that this happened, one, in the middle of a residential area, right in the middle of a neighborhood, and that all 4 people on board survived. Now, there's also been a couple of issues with this airport. Apparently, the airport that they took off from, there have been dozens of crashes in the last 5 years from the same airport. And so there are calls to the county now to conduct a safety survey on, but dozens in 5 years?
They tell you that traveling on an airplane is the safest way to go, right? A commercial airplane.
A commercial airplane.
When they say that, they mean the big ones at American and Delta, but the small planes like that,
Yeah.
they don't have quite the safety success. And not that they're not safe if you know what you're doing, but
Right.
apparently this was like a dad with his kids flying back from a little vacation. But can you imagine if that plane had hit, instead of the top of the tree, the base? I've seen car crashes where people hit them going 100 miles an hour and it just splits the car and the tree is fine. If that had been 6 feet lower, I don't think that family survives.
No, this would be a very different story if that had happened. But yeah, so hopefully there will be some safety study done on this airport to see why there are so many crashes. But we're very happy to see
what
that family
is
survived.
going on there. Yeah, glad they're
Exactly.
okay. Real Stalker, that plane nailed the tree. Holy cow. Yeah, fortunately, the top of the tree, I think if it were closer to the base, it would have been much, much worse. All right, I want to talk to Jonathan Kagas, and we wanted to leave him a little more time because he's been showing me some things, and we were talking about this right before the show, with this hurricane, Aaron. So whenever I look at a hurricane, I'm always looking for the eye, and at first blush, I thought I found it, and then Kagas educated me, and he's like, that is not the eye,
It's
dummy.
wrapping
He
around
was
a
much nicer
cloud.
than that. Yeah. So can you break it down for us? Can you give us a little anatomy of a hurricane tonight, Mr. Kagas?
Yeah, so let me get the proper thing back. We're also watching a flash flood warning in Marion County. I'm going to get to that in just
Very
one
true.
second, so stick around for our friends in Marion. So this is what, Matt, not to point out, but you said it yourself first.
No. I think most people would think like me. I thought that was one big blob, and in the middle I saw a space, so I thought that was the eye.
That makes sense.
Kind of right in here before. Let me get the one off. That's the where it shows the category. We know where the center's at. So that when you looked at it right here, this was the spot. And what is happening is there's like this big cloud mass right out here in the red. There's like another little area of thunderstorms that's impeding its ability to strengthen right now. So it has to kind of clear that out, wrap it around its center. Watch up here. This is the main surface feature of Aaron. So I'm going to put this back into motion. Watch it. Let me zoom back in. It's trying to get it going.
Start to see.
There it is right there. So it's open and it's opening it up further. Matt, we looked at this about 15 minutes ago, give or take.
Yeah.
And it's a little more open. I think the rapid intensification portion of Aaron is beginning right now. When we talked at 5 o'clock on the 5 o'clock news when that advisory came out, the pressure was 993 millibars and we had a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane. That pressure now is down to 982. That's a big drop in about 3 hours. So that's symbolizing and signaling to us that this thing is going to strengthen. It is expected to undergo rapid intensification this weekend as well. But again, it's we can kind of admire the beauty of this thing because it's not going to hit anything.
So what you're describing is almost like one black hole eating another black hole is what I'm picturing. So this isn't one big mass. You're saying the hurricane is that northern part and it's running into a thunderstorm that's there?
It's part of it, so it's all kind of the thing. What happens is it had some thunderstorms are kind of around to the outer bands. So what it needs to do is it needs to kind of clear that out of its way, and eventually, and looks like it's going to wrap it back in around the center. I wish my telestration was working so I can highlight that area. But that whole big blob that you're looking at on the screen in between the pictures and where it says APM advisory, that is all the hurricane. This is just the center part. We just have some extra rounds of thunderstorms that kind of got detached from it. It's going to pull it back through. And again, this is going to be a really massive hurricane. Let me show you real quick if we have some time. This is a simulated satellite. So what we're going to be looking for over the weekend, look at this thing grow. It gets huge. I mean, that's what the satellite could look like. I mean, it could be literally taking up the entire space from Bermuda to the Outer Banks as we get into this. Is going to be on Tuesday and a Wednesday. Huge eye, huge hurricane. But again, the good news is all the weather and all the nasty stuff is right around the center of that storm. So I think dodging a huge, huge bullet, to say the least, with Aaron, but we'll obviously take that for sure, guys.
Yeah, that's what is that thing? 600 miles wide. It looks. It's hard to get the.
It's about that. The center is going to be about 600 miles away from Florida. So when you kind of do the estimation there, it might end up being that wide. Guys, something real quick. I know you have to go as I'm rambling.
No, give it to us. I want to hear about this flash flood.
Yeah, so some reports of roadways being impassable in Ocala. They've picked up now 3.5 inches of rain in just an hour. That'll do it. So coming up at 9:30, we're going to highlight this a little bit more. I just sent out a push alert to clickorlando.com. If you have the News 6 weather app, if you have the News 6 news app, that just came to your phone. You can read up all about that. But again, we always say it. We have a rhyme for everything. Turn around, don't drown. There are reports of impassable roadways in Ocala. And unfortunately, a couple more inches of rain are coming over the next hour, so the storm is just not moving here. So I'm watching that. We're going to talk about that and more about the nerdy, sciencey stuff that we just did with Aaron at 9:30.
I like it. It was fascinating. All right, Jonathan Kagas, you're the man. If you want to see his show, check it out. It's right after this one, starting in about 5 minutes or so, 5 to 7 minutes. We're going to take another quick break, and we're going to talk about one of our community correspondents who's so popular in his community. He's now on a podcast.
Exactly.
So we'll check in with that in just a minute. Welcome to News 6 Tonight. We are so thankful that you're joining us here wherever you found us.
Yeah, you know what this tells me? If you have made this your new streaming destination, it tells me you're smart. Also good looking. Because you chose to watch the news in a different way. That makes you really smart. Anybody can give you the news from a teleprompter or an old newspaper. We do it in a fresh new way.
That's right. So check us out wherever you like to stream. We have this app for your TV, News 6 Plus. You can find it on Roku and Amazon and whatever your smart TV is cooking. So thank you. We would love to hear your comments down below.
Gosh. Yeah.
And then we'll show them.
Yeah, we will. News 6 Plus. The plus is you.
Ooh. Hey, welcome back to News 6 Tonight. So glad to have you with us. Glad to have you with us,
Well,
Louis
thank you,
Bolden.
sir.
If you're joining us on the chat, please let us know your name, maybe where you're from, if you like long walks on the beach, whatever it is. Just check us out. Well, a story I absolutely love today was from our own Alex Cook. So we have community correspondence, and what that means is where this person, usually where you live, that is your area. You're supposed to be entrenched in that community, and you should know what's going on there better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So Alex Cook is a great story in himself because he used to be a photographer here.
Yep.
And he's worked the assignment desk. He's done pretty much every job in the newsroom. And they were like, hey, man, we need to put you on TV.
And he took that on too.
And he had 2 stories just today. And one of them was fantastic. He got invited to be on this podcast about his community, where he's a community correspondent in Castleberry. So let's take a little look at his story from this podcast.
I'm here in the community room of the Castleberry Police Department with the crew of the What's Up Castleberry podcast, which shares the people, stories, and ideas that are important to this city.
If we could shine the spotlight on some of the great things being done by great people in our city.
Nearly 180 interviews later, they've spoken to local business owners, community leaders, artists, educators. Their most recent guest, their Castleberry community correspondent.
When someone at home has that emotional connection by seeing what someone's going through and they're moved to help, that's the power of journalism.
And the hope that sharing those stories can make a difference.
Those are connections that are starting to make a difference and spurring people to action and encouraging them to make a contribution to our shared community life.
Good
What's
stuff,
up,
right?
Castleberry?
Yeah, I'm going to have to subscribe. I like their thumbnails, by the way.
Very cool. You know, a lot of communities everybody has Nextdoor and they have Facebook pages for their community, but a podcast is pretty cool.
I like it. I think
Yeah.
every community should have one.
Absolutely.
Right?
Let's go.
Okay, now we're talking. We're a podcast basically for your whole community. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you want to check us out at 10 and 11 o'clock, our lead story tonight is this flash flood warning in Marion County. They have been getting pummeled by rain this evening, so we're going to have our chief meteorologist, Jonathan Kegas, is going to be on that. And if you don't want to wait for that, the show right after this is his weather show where he breaks down that rain and that big old hurricane that's developing in the Atlantic.
And we know flash floods can be dangerous, so everybody in Ocala needs to be on the lookout for those.
Absolutely. Louis Bolden, investigator for News 6 for 24 years. And guess what? He gets better with age.
Ah, you're the best. It has been fun the past 2 nights,
Great
brother.
having you, my friend.
Nice hanging out with
Go
you.
enjoy your weekend. Take off. I'll be manning the desk here. And we'll see you at 10 o'clock.